Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive?
Always ready.
Awesome. Today we're heading over to Singapore. They're making some, well, pretty significant changes to their rules for expat workers.
Big changes.
Yeah, and we're going to try to unpack why it's all happening and what it all could mean, for businesses, for the global economy, maybe even for you. We've got some great excerpts from an article titled Singapore's New Expat Rules, a Shift Towards Local Employment. It lays things out pretty clearly. So if you've ever, thought about working in Singapore or maybe you're just interested in how the world works, this one's definitely for you.
Definitely.
Okay, so let's jump right in. The big change, the one everyone's talking about, is that Singapore is raising the minimum salary that foreigners need to make if they want to get a work permit. They call it an employment pass, and it's how most professionals from other countries, get the right to work in Singapore.
Right. It's essentially a work visa.
Yeah, exactly. But here's the thing. It's not like a tiny bump in salary. We're talking a noticeable jump.
Yeah, it's a pretty significant increase. The minimum salary is going from 5,000 Singapore dollars a month to 5,600. That's for most jobs.
Per month, wow.
And for those in finance, it's even higher.
Wait, even higher than 5,600 a month?
Yeah. Try 6,200 Singapore dollars. So yeah, not a small increase.
Whoa. So like what's going on here? Why such a big jump? Well, the article we've got mentions that a lot of Singaporeans are worried. They're feeling anxious about foreigners taking jobs that they feel belong to them.
Yeah, there's definitely that sentiment. It's a hot topic in Singapore right now.
And there's a stat in the article that really stood out to me. It says that over half of Singaporeans think immigrants are taking jobs away from locals.
Yeah, I saw that too. And it's understandable, right? People are worried about their livelihoods, their futures.
Of course, yeah. But Singapore, they've always relied on foreign talent, right?
Yeah.
To boost their economy, to make things happen.
Absolutely. I mean, Singapore is a global hub. It's always welcomed skilled workers from all over the world.
So they're kind of walking this tightrope. They want to keep the economy strong, keep attracting talent, but also got to make their own citizens feel secure.
Exactly. It's a real balancing act.
Now, this salary hike, I mean, it's not exactly a simple solution. What do you think, what kind of ripple effects could it have? I mean, especially for businesses in Singapore, the ones that depend on that global workforce.
Well, it's going to create challenges for sure. I mean, those higher salaries mean higher costs for companies, especially those smaller businesses. They might struggle to compete, especially against those big corporations with deeper pockets.
Yeah, totally. It's like suddenly the price of your star players just went way up.
Exactly.
So what do? Do they try to, train local talent more, to fill those high-skill roles?
Well, that's certainly a possibility. I mean, companies might start seeing the value in investing in their local workforce, creating a pipeline of skilled workers. It's a long-term strategy, but it could pay off.
It makes sense. It's like you can either pay a premium for a ready-made star player, or you can invest in developing a rookie into a future star.
Yeah, it's kind of like that.
And what about the companies that maybe just can't afford those higher salaries, or need a specific skill set that's hard to find locally? I mean, could this lead them to, moving some of their operations to other countries, like maybe to places like Vietnam or Malaysia, where labor costs are lower?
It's definitely a scenario to consider. I mean, we could see companies relocating parts of their operations to other countries in Southeast Asia to stay competitive, especially those that are operating on tighter budgets.
Makes sense. I mean, if it costs a lot more to assemble your product in Singapore, you might start looking for other factories.
Exactly. Companies are always looking for ways to optimize, to be more efficient.
Okay, so there's this whole economic side of things, but the article also mentions something else, something really interesting. Singapore has a big election coming up.
Yeah.
And that seems to be a major factor in all of this.
Oh, absolutely. The political landscape is definitely playing a role here.
So how do you think the election is influencing this whole expat worker situation?
Well, the ruling party, they want to stay in power, right? And to do that, they need to show their citizens that they're listening. They need to show that they're addressing those concerns about job security.
Makes sense. I mean, voters care about jobs, and if they feel like the government isn't doing enough to protect those jobs, they might vote for someone else.
Exactly. So the ruling party, they're trying to strike that balance. They want to keep the economy strong, but also got to make sure their citizens feel like they're being taken care of.
So it's this delicate dance, right? On one side, you want to keep attracting those amazing minds from around the world, keep Singapore competitive. But on the other, Got to make sure your own people have opportunities, they feel secure.
It's a tough challenge. A lot of countries are facing similar dilemmas, actually.
It's a global thing. So what do you think, will this focus on local talent end up hurting Singapore in the long run? Will it make them less attractive to global companies?
It's hard to predict the future, but, it's possible that this shift, this emphasis on nurturing local talent, it could actually make Singapore even more attractive to some companies.
Really? How so?
Well, imagine you're a company looking for a highly skilled, highly educated workforce, a stable political environment. You might be willing to pay a little extra to operate in a place like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, stability and talent, those are valuable assets.
Absolutely. So it's not necessarily a black and white situation. It's more nuanced than that.
It really makes you think, if you were like advising Singapore right now, what would you recommend? How do you keep attracting the best and the brightest, but also make sure your own citizens can thrive?
That's the million-dollar question. And there's no easy answer. It's a balancing act, a constant process of adjustment. And honestly, it's a question more and more countries are going to have to grapple with in the coming years.
Definitely something to think about. Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah.
And to all our listeners out there, what do you think? How would you solve this dilemma? Let us know.
Yeah, let's keep the conversation going. We'd love to hear your thoughts.